So let's take a look at giving the player run and crouch. One thing we'll notice that when we create a new project for the first time or first few times, whether it's first person shooter or third person shooter, we've got some movements built in, but we don't have, for whatever reason, conspicuously absent is running and crouching. And I mean, what first-person shooter doesn't have that? So we're going to have to solve that right away. So if we go in here and we can see that this is just a default game, I can move around, I can jump, but I cannot crouch. I can press the C key, which I'm mashing now, or the control key, left control key, nothing's happening. And I'm trying to run and I'm hitting shift here, which is usually the hotkey for it, and it is doing nothing. So we have to fix that. So let's get out of here by hitting the escape key. Now, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just create a couple of brushes. We're not going to talk too much about BSP today, but we do want to put in some geometry in here just to prove our concept. So I'm going to drop a quick box in here, and I'm just going to go into my brush settings here, and I'm just going to resize this thing. Let's see here, 2600. Let's go, let's see here, 400 and 400. And I'm just going to create a little tunnel here for myself just to prove that crouch concept. So let's get this thing roughly aligned with the floor. There we go. We'll drag in another, let's see here, box. And we're going to make this one 200 by 600 by 100. And again, I'm not going to get into BSP today. I really do want to do a video on that, but I just want to create a little tunnel here, and you'll see what I'm going to get at here in a second. So we're going to come down here into our geometry, and we're going to make this brush a subtractive, and I do want to bring it down so there's no little step there, and I'm going to push it here. And it's not aligned with the floor. Let's see here. Okay, that is not the right tall. Z, we want 160. A good default size or minimum size for crouch is 150, but I'm going to make it 160. And let's make sure it goes all the way through. And you can see all I did was I just created a little tunnel. So if we go in here now, I've got a little tunnel. And you can see I cannot get in here, so I need a crouch function. All right, so we're set up with our BSP. Let's go ahead and press escape. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to come down to our content browser, and I'm just going to open up the root folder here, just in the content folder. We want to be in this first person blueprint BP here. That'll bring these up, and then we want to go into blueprints, and we want to look for that first person character. We want to pop that guy open. Now, first thing we want to do is go over to our components here, and we have to go into this character movement inherited. Let's click on that. And then we want to filter for capabilities, actually movement capabilities, but you can just filter by capabilities. We can see this can crouch is not ticked, and we have to check that off. For some reason, when I was messing around with this, I didn't know you had to check this off. I coded and it just wasn't working, so start there. Now, after we click that, now for some reason the run looks like you don't have to select it. It might be just default built in, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and compile that, and we're ready to go. So let's just go on our event graph here and just go into some empty space here. And I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to untick this context sensitive box, and I'm going to search for control key. That's just because I want to do my left control key. What we're actually searching for is keyboard events. Now I want to use left control, so I just truncated it to control and then searched it to here. And I want to select that just by right clicking it. Now if say I wanted a different key, well, I'll just right click, and let's just go for keyboard here. Let's just filter down. And here we've got the different keyboard functions. So if we wanted to, for example, have our crouch to be the letter C, I can find it here, C, click that, and then there's a C. I don't want a C, I want left control, so let me just delete that. Okay, so there's a left control. Now the only other two nodes we have to put in here is let's right mouse button click, and let's search for crouch, just that simple. We want to make sure it's the function, so character crouch. So let's right click on that, sorry, left click on that, and there's our crouch. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to right click on our mouse button. Let's search for crouch again. This time we want that function uncrouch. So left mouse button, there it goes in its place there. Once we have those in, what we can do is when we press our left control button, we want to be crouched. So we're going to left click on this little connector here, and we're going to drag to this guy here, and then we're going to release, and then that'll create a connection. We'll do the same thing for release. So whenever our left control button is released, we're going to be uncrouching, and just that simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to left mouse button and drag, holding it down, and then release, and that's just selecting all of them. And I'm going to hit the C key for Charlie, and I'm just going to put a comment in here. So player crouch. Do you have to comment? No, you don't. but it's a good idea to do it. So player crouch, enter, there we go. Oh, look at that. Well, I didn't know you can do categories within categories. Well, we didn't want to do that, so we'll just do that. There we go. So you don't have to, label these, but if we look at the way Epic set it up for our little first-person character, they've done it. So let's go best practices. We'll do it too. So, all right, so that's set up. Let's go ahead and compile, and now we can go in here. And where's our little tunnel? And now I can hit the Control left key, and there I got the crouch. So now you can do this also on the third-person shooter, but it doesn't have the animation, so you have to add the animation. But for first person, this works fantastic. Okay, so there's our crouch. Let's hit the escape key. Let's go back into that first-person character, and let's look at our little run function. So the first thing we want to do here is, well, we want to hit our keyboard again. So let's right mouse button. Let's make sure this context sensitive is unticked. And I'm going to look for left shift. So let me just filter for shift, and there's my left shift button. So I'm going to left click that and put that in to there. I'm going to right click here and bring up the search again, and I'm going to put in set maximum or max walk speed. And we want this character movement component, and here it is here, set max walk speed. There it is. Now, while it's selected, and I can see it's selected because it's outlined in yellow, I'm going to hit the Control C or Charlie key for copy. I'm going to unclick that, unselect it, and hit Control V for Victor. And we're just copying and pasting. So there that is. So I've got two of those. And while we're here, why not set these values here, the speed float. So this one here I'm going to set at 600 because 600 is the default walk speed in Unreal. So I'm going to set that. And this guy here for my run speed, I'm going to set this at, say, 2200. I don't know. That seems to be a reasonable figure. So we'll type that in, hit enter, and that's done there. You'll see how this works in just a second. We have to add one more node. So let's right mouse button here and search for get character movement. And it's this one down here, this blue one. Read the value of variable character movement. I want to put that in, make sure it's blue. I'm not going to get into too much explaining these nodes, but just note the colors. If you're recreating this, make sure you have the right colors going here. Really simple, oversimplification, but there it is. Now for the character movement, we just want to, well, okay, let's connect these. So to get started, just so it's a bit more logical, from our left shift, when it's pressed, we want to be running. So we're going to left mouse button on this little connector here. We're going to hold down the mouse button, drag it across, and we're going to hit that. We get that little green check mark, so that's a valid pin connection. And when we're released on the left shift key, we want to be walking or running or set the speed at 600. So there that is. And the final connection we have to do is just from this character movement of this target. Again, I'm not going to explain how this is all derived, but if you just follow along and recreate this, you'll get to where you need to get going. So left mouse button, drag it across to select the whole lot. I'm going to C for Charlie, the key. There we go. Let's comment it. Player, run, enter, and there that is. Make sure we compile. Let's close this out. And now we should have our run. So here I'm walking around, and I'm going to hit that left shift key, and there you can see the run. And it's quite fast. And what's kind of nice is it kind of accelerates into it, and that looks like it's hard-coded, so that's rather nice. So there's our run, and then we get here, we can crouch down,